Hello and welcome, everyone. Today we are excited and honored to interview Janani Ramchandran. Janani is running for California State Assembly in District 18 in this year's special election coming up very, very soon. Janani is an East Bay native. She's a graduate of Stanford University and Berkeley Law. She's a social justice lawyer, an activist, and an artist who is relentlessly fighting to empower communities who, in her words, have been failed by our existing systems. We encourage everyone listening to please take a seat, really absorb Janani's vision for California, and support the campaign. Please help elect California's first Indian American Assemblywoman. Janani, thank you for speaking with us today. Without any further ado, let's get started. The very first thing I want to ask about is your core philosophies. You believe in, quote, bold solutions and leaders who have the courage to fight for them. So what makes you a bold candidate and what are the bold solutions that you stand for?
So, the reason that I'm running is because, like many of us, I'm very frustrated with California's state government. We have too many leaders who are just satisfied with the status quo, who are okay continuing ineffective, inefficient policies that don't serve the needs of people. I was inspired to run because I feel like our state government was not doing enough to help people during the pandemic in particular. And so my vision for running for office is being fearless in the fight for justice. I think it's time that we have leaders who are not scared to act because they have special interest groups whispering in their ear. I think it's time that we have leaders who are ready to fight for what they truly believe in, not just what they think is going to make them look good in the media or look favorable to certain corporate interests. That's what I mean when I say bold. There are a lot of candidates in races like this in districts like mine who like saying broad statements like housing is a human right, healthcare is a human right, and those are certainly my underlying values. But it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to actually want to fight to enact the policies that is going to actually make housing a human right, healthcare a human right, a living wage a human right, clean air a human right, education a human right.
And like you just mentioned, you are not accepting money or direct checks from any corporations, police unions, big pharma, the oil gas industry, or real estate developers. And I'm just curious to know what gateways does that decision open up for you in your potential future as the state assemblywoman? But also conversely, how do you overcome the fact that this decision might also close some doors for you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I feel like many of our state leaders are not bold and fearless, as I put it, is because they have special interest groups whispering in their ears. They have certain corporations, certain industries saying, you can't fight for that bill, or we want you to make sure that bill dies in session and is never passed. And I want to be an independent thinker. I want to be able to make decisions for myself on laws and bills that I want to see passed, on policies that I want to see being enacted, and I don't want to be influenced by anyone except for Californian voters. You know, the only people I am accountable to are my voters, are the people of California, um, not corporations, not specific industries. And to me, it certainly does not it only closes doors for avenues that I don't want to go down. I want to be a politician, a political leader, a public servant with integrity, with authenticity, because that's what I feel is lacking. We have a lot of politicians who say one thing and then secretly behind closed doors do another because of money. Oftentimes people think that, you know, in other countries, like India, for example, politics is openly corrupt. But corruption happens every single day in our own state government. Some of the corruption is legal. A lot of the corruption is illegal. And we need to put an end to that. And that starts with being an independent policymaker and only being accountable to your voters, to the people of California.
I want to ask also about your background a little bit. You are the daughter and granddaughter of, in your words, immigrants from a small South Indian village who worked tirelessly every day to give you the opportunity to pursue your dreams. And I think that's something that so many of our viewers can relate to. Can you explain to me how your upbringing informed your decision to dedicate yourself to social justice and how it would inform your outlook as a future potential state assemblywoman?
Absolutely. So, on my mom's side, my grandparents immigrated to New York City in the early 70s with my mom and her brother. And immigrating, eh, anyone who's an immigrant has gone through so many struggles and so many challenging life experiences. But they did that so that their kids can have a better life, so that their grandkids can have a better life. And they sacrificed so much, leaving their communities behind, leaving everything they know to move to a foreign land where they barely spoke the language, where life is hard for an immigrant. And they did that so that my generation can have the opportunities that I've had in my life. I have been able to pursue my dreams because of the stability that the immigrants in my family were able to give me, both my grandparents on my mom's side and my dad himself on his side, who moved here for college. And, I'm forever grateful for their struggles and indebted to their struggles, and want to do everything possible um, to make the most of the fact that they work so hard for my sake. But the reason I started thinking about public service was the when I started thinking about public service was when I was about 8 years old. The earthquakes in Gujarat had just happened, I think in 2001, and I was watching it on the news, and I told my mom, what's happening to all these kids in India who've lost their homes and can't go to school. And her first response was always, okay, you see this problem, this, crisis going on. You care. What are you going to do about it? And so I did. I started my first fundraiser when I was 8 years old for the Red Cross, to, on a small scale, but it was whatever an 8-year-old was able to do at the time. Similarly, I actually moved to India for a few years. I lived there for 5 years in high school in Bangalore. And, I saw poverty in just a different light. I was living in this, nice little gated community, and right outside were communities of with really, really, truly impoverished people. They were neighborhood schools with barely any facilities, with just the bare bones facilities to provide an education, no library, no computers, no things like that. And I realized, I was so fortunate to have thousands of books at my disposal, and books supplement your education as a child and make you creative and help you understand different life paths. And so, again, I saw a problem, and my mom said, what are you going to do about it? So I started a nonprofit when I was about 15 in Bangalore that set up libraries in under-resourced schools in my neighborhood. And, I did it with the support of my family, who have been only encouraging to support me in giving back to my community and being a public servant. So that's, the roots of where it lies. And I've, of course, continued down that road later in my career. But the foundation of where you come from and making the most of the privileges that I've had in my life, this is a theme that I care about. I'm extremely, extremely fortunate to have had, a stable home, a stable family, a good education, and I feel called to give back because of that.